This is KJ and Lyons. KJ Carson and Jon Lyons right now on WEEI.
4-0 Red Sox, bottom of the fourth, the 2-2 pitch. Trout hits one hard on the left side. Diving stop by Story, but he falls down in shallow left and he's hurt. It'll be a single for Trout, but Story's in pain.
Oh, no. Oh, boy. KJ and Lyons, WEEI. Good Sunday to you. That is the call that may be very memorable for this Red Sox team over the next few years. Is Trevor Story now on the 10-day disabled list? John, I think it's just really a precursor of him going on a further disabled list. And I think you just say 10 days because we still haven't hit opening day at Fenway yet.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Tyler Murray on that call there, doing some new work for EEI out with the big club, the Red Sox. Yeah, it's funny because he's on the 10-day IL, but the way he talked about it, I think it was yesterday or the way he talked about the injury, and he was so emotional about it. And there really was that sense, at least I got, KJ, that, yeah, he's on the 10-day IL, but this could be a very long-term injury. At the very least, something that's going to nag him maybe all season, but this could keep him out, I think, for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I think it goes 10-day, then to 15-day, and then probably the 60. Then they wait for a second where he's probably just doing some type of rehab inside of that 15-day to see what can and what can't happen. They could be calling for 60-day by May 15th.
Yeah, and then at that point,
tough.
right, like May 5th, let's say 60-day DL, mid-May, we're talking mid-July at the earliest he's back, and who knows what shape he's going to be in then. I mean, it could be that, and I don't want to be too hyperbolic here, but we could be looking at a major long-term injury here for a guy that, frankly, they were really depending on this year. They went out in their lineup. They add Tyler O'Neill, who, by the way, has been awesome to start the season. But beyond that, didn't really do much to improve their lineup. They were expecting, hey, Story's going to come back and not only help the lineup, but improve some of that atrocious defense they had through most of last year at shortstop, which, by the way, when he came back last year, he was pretty good defensively at shortstop. And now with him out, it's pretty bare at short. I mean, do you move Rafaela there? Do you what do you do? That it's really interesting to me what they're going to do there because I think this puts them in a really tough spot.
617-779-7937. Text line 37937. That's how you reach us at WEEI. And also coming at 145, John's got the Lions Den. We're talking Red Sox and what to do moving forward with Trevor Story. Let me put this in perspective and why this is pretty disastrous. Tristan Casas has had 120 hits since he's been with the ball club last year and into this year. Trevor Story has 130 since he's been here. And we're into his third season. So literally we're talking about a commodity you can't move. I think this is just an unmovable piece. This is Chris Sale with the bat potentially. And as you mentioned, do you move Rafael? Because now it makes the outfield a mess when you just clean that up. Right? Because, look, Yoshida he's going to have to be addressed at some point.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a DH who doesn't DH, and he doesn't outfield either. So, like, what do you do? And, oh, by the way, he's got a pretty price tag to him as well. So it almost feels like, and I hate to bring this up, but it feels like the curse of Bambino has been replaced with the curse of Mookie. Because every position that the Red Sox have struggled to deal with since he's been gone, Mookie Betts has effectively played or is playing. Right field, second base, shortstop, hitting. Yeah, the wheels really fell off of that guy.
Yeah, how about his start to he's hitting .415 with 5 homers and 11 RBI.
He hit that in the Dodgers series against the Red Sox last year when he came here. He came with an aluminum bat.
Yeah, holy smokes. And here's the thing, like you mentioned the Chris Sale thing. Like when you look at Trevor Story, but first of all, he's only played over 150 games once in his career, and that was in 2018. But if you just look at the few years before he got to the Red Sox, 2019, he played 145 games, so he missed 17 games that year. 2020 was a shortened COVID season. He played 59 games, which is pretty good. And then 2021, he missed 20 games. He played 142. So, yeah, he's still playing over 140, but we're talking about multiple years before he got here where he's missing more than 15 games. Then he comes here, 2022, he plays 94 games. Last year, 43 games. Now he's played 8 games. And look,
at
that
this rate,
injury
next
the other
year
night,
it'll be 2.5.
Yeah, that injury the other night, like it's not his fault. He's hustling, but it's like, you know how some guys, it's like they always find a way to have either bad luck or like Chris Sale falls off his freaking bike and he's out for a while. Like it feels like Story's one of those guys where he's trying hard. He's doing everything right, and he just has bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. But if you're the Red Sox, I mean, Xander Bogaerts wouldn't be missing this many games. And I hate to take it back to that, but that was the choice they made. And they invested in a guy that 2 out of his 3 seasons prior to coming to Boston missed over 15 games. And we're seeing it again.
Well, I think the thing with Xander Bogaerts was the bigger issue wasn't so much that you let him go, is that nothing came back in return. And I think that's what makes that big. So we could say, yeah, if he was still here, and that's one thing. But if you say he's not here, but at least you went and got some young arms or another player in the farm system that could play second or short, because I hate to say it, but the clock is now ticking on Marcel Mayo.
Yeah. And right? Vaughn Grissom, too, who's been out.
Right. So the clock is ticking on the situation that was the most important to fix, which was up the middle. You don't want to start seeing Kike Hernandez play at short again. I'm not going to get on Rafael Devers about that kick ball last night, but you almost feel like there's now this mental shift that's happening with this team saying, okay, hey, it's now all going to be on Rafi's bat for the most part, right? Because he's supposed to be the other guy. You don't know when Story's coming back. And then you're still trying to figure out, okay, Yoshida is doing nothing but hitting fungo balls to second base all day. And what is going on with that? The pitching has not been the story, right? That's what we thought.
They've actually been pretty good,
right? And so maybe it's that. Maybe the energy that I've been putting on this station about pitching, and they get it done. I don't know. Maybe I need to start moving it to these other people, because at some point you have to say, "Wow, the one thing you expected the Red Sox to be able to do was supply bats, and that really hasn't happened." Right? I mean, look, last night in that game with the Angels, you figure like, hey, all these 2-1, 1-2 games, what you thought the Red Sox would be able to do, they're not doing, and that's putting the ball and putting up multiple runs.
Yeah, and right now they're pitching as a staff. They have a 1.44 ERA. That's the best in the majors. Their starting rotation ERA, second best in the majors. They've pitched, and look, I know they played the A's, I know they played the Angels, I get it, but hey, they've pitched pretty well, especially from the rotation. In fact, better than pretty well. I'm underselling them. But what did we hear, KJ, in the offseason? Okay, they have a good offense, which so far, it's not. I mean, they had the 8 runs against the Angels the other night, but it hasn't been great.
Right.
But also, they're going to be better defensively. The Red Sox told us that. They've committed the 4th most errors as a team in the MLB already, and you just lost Story, who is a solid defensive shortstop. So it's like they finally have gotten good pitching, which I felt like we waited all of last year for pretty much. But now their defense is still letting them down. Their lineup hasn't been good enough. So they've had a good start. I worry that as they come back, we have the home opener this week. You play Baltimore. Like, that concerns me against Baltimore. Like, I think they're good enough. They'll beat the A's. They'll beat, the Angels the majority of times they play it. Right. They'll do that. Like, splitting with Seattle was good. But defensively, and with this, I still worry about them against some of the better teams in the AL, which we're going to see against Baltimore coming up this week.
So you saw some of probably the future of what's going to happen, right? You saw Jarren Duran get moved to center last night. And though I want to forget about what happened against Toronto with him and the things that he had to go through about playing center last year, I think Rafael is going to end up being at short. I think that's what they're going to end up doing because he's already with the club. And the guys below, are they really ready for prime time? And what was it, 2-3 weeks ago? We kind of joked about when we came on right after the breakout game, right? And we said Marcelo Mayo, hey, he might need to be ready come July. Well, if he can't get it right in Double-A, I think they're at the point now where they're saying, you know what? If he crushes in Double-A, we've got to take a chance and move him up to the big club just because you don't know what you're getting from Trevor Story, when he will come back, and if you can even move his contract. That's how much pressure is
on. Yeah, I don't think Story's going to – I think you're right. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be here. But the thing is, he's going to be here, but what they're going to have to practically do in the field, like, I think you're going to end up with Rafael at short because I don't think any of these younger guys are ready yet. So you're going to have Rafael at short. So you'll have O'Neill and Abreu.
You got Reyes last year just to shore up second.
Right, exactly. So you're going to have – and Vaughn Grissom, who I do like, but again, he's still working his way back, and I'm not going to throw him at he's not a shortstop, so it's like I'm not going to throw him there. So I think you're going to end up with Rafael at short, probably O'Neill and Abreu at the 2 corner outfield spots, and then Duran in center field. And you're just going to have to hope that what you see out of him in center field is going to be better than what it was when we first saw him in center field.
Am I the only one to saying, I was like, I really hope that Tyler O'Neill doesn't go the Adam Duvall route like last year, because this feels like Adam Duvall all over again at the beginning of last year, remember?
It's funny you say that because I had someone last night to me, we were talking about the Red Sox, say O'Neill is the new Adam Duvall. And O'Neill's been I mean, he's hitting 360. He's got 4 homers already. You know, his OPS is 1,300, whatever. I mean, he's been really good. And the thing about O'Neill is the last time he was fully healthy in 2021, he hit 34 homers. So, like, we've seen him be a good player before. But you're right. Is he going to have that Adam Duvall start? And then we're like, oh, yeah, this is still Adam Duvall. He's not great, right? Later in the year. I think he can be better than that. But it's still similar to Trevor Story. Like, it's still a concern because I talk about the last time he's healthy. That was 3 years ago. So can he keep this up? Can he stay durable? Because if he can, I love the start he's gotten off to. And I think if he stays healthy, and I'm not saying he's going to hit 360 all year, but if he can be good all year, their lineup looks a lot different than otherwise.
Well, now with Story down, it's almost like you have to have him. You know what I mean?
He's
like
one of those swing pieces. Like, if he's good.
He's bigger than a swing piece now because the Trevor Story situation leaves virtually no room for error. You don't want to put that additional pressure on Cassis because what you're starting to see is the pitchers are starting to figure out what he wants to do. And I forgot which game it was. They just threw him nothing but sliders. I think it was in that Seattle series where at one point they were just frustrating Cassis with just throwing them all slider. So now they're saying, okay, a book is out on you. And sometimes it's very difficult for second season to happen. Just like in music. Think of some of your favorite music groups. Great first album. Second album sucked. Third album is make or break for them if they're going to actually have a career. So there's now this additional pressure on Cassis just because while no one was expecting Trevor Story to come in here and, drop 40 bombs and drive in 135 runs, it wasn't supposed to be like an MVP candidate. But it was like, okay, you're supposed to be in this lineup enough to scare pitchers that they're going to have to pitch to you and you're going to do something. Now goes back to something we asked when we joked about, I think when the parody song about who's on the mound is like, who are you scared to pitch to in this Red Sox lineup now? If anything, tell me you can pitch around the entire. All you have to do is pitch around Devers, and you're going to keep your team in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you pitch around Devers, you still have to deal with Casas. But you're right, beyond like Reese McGuire's hitting 300 right now. He's been great, but he's a career 260 hitter. Like, he's probably going to regress closer to 260 as the season progresses. You don't have Story anymore. So that's why, like I said, O'Neill is a swing piece, and maybe you're right, maybe more than a swing piece. But what I mean by that is if he's really good, like if he keeps up what he's been doing, then all of a sudden you can't just pitch around Devers, right? Your lineup's a lot more difficult. But if he's not, or if he gets hurt again, then, like you said, you pitch around Devers, and it's much easier to face this lineup.
So if Mookie Betts was still here, because I think
we'd be all happier.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, okay, he's at short. You probably have an all-star or all-star level right fielder, and you probably have the second baseman you have. Yeah. So I don't think you start the season with Mookie at short for sure. Maybe he's your second baseman to start, but it feels like there would be another bat. Do you believe that not re-signing Mookie Betts, getting rid of Mookie Betts, is why we're here today?
Oh, I think it's a massive part of it. Yeah, and honestly, I'd go a step before that.
Is the team cursed, do you think?
It feels that way. But I'd go a step before that, firing Dave Dombrowski because he didn't want to trade Mookie and Xander. Like, that, to me, is the original sin here. Like, if you keep Dombrowski, and look, I know the sale contract is bad.
Dombrowski can't play short and second and right. Yeah.
But he can spend the money to keep the right fielder and the shortstop here, so we don't even have to have this conversation, right? Like, look at what he's done in Philly. Kind of crazy that they have good players at pretty much all their positions, just like when he was here. So, that to me, that's the original sin here. But, of course, it's, the curse of Mookie. Nobody says it's the curse of the fired GM. It's the curse of the guy that was the MVP. So, yeah. And the thing about it, too, like, if Mookie was still here, I don't think they'd be in this spot at shortstop. Because either maybe Xander would have stayed, or if Xander left, I think they would have had a better plan there. Because if Mookie was still here,
a better spend than what they did for Trevor Story.
And what I mean by that is I think if Mookie was here, it'd be a signal that they were more invested in winning and they would have had a better plan than what they had, which is, we're just going to sign Story. We'll let Bogarts walk. Story will be fine. Which is obviously not really what has happened.
Do you think the Red Sox are cursed? Do you think there's a Mookie Betts curse? 617-779.
The curse of the Betbino, or I don't
know. Because that's like
Mookie
overdoing
malaise.
Like less is more. The curse of Mookie, right? Because the original curse of Mookie is the ground ball to first under Buckner's legs. Yeah. That's the original Mookie curse. But now I think there's a Mookie curse. 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. KJ and Lyons. We're about 30 minutes away from the Lions Den, but right now it's time to trend with John.